Hey guys, it's time to talk about the animated series, Ben 10, from the beginning to the end.
It's hero time!
At the beginning, we are shown some kind of alien. At the same time, on Earth, the main character Ben Tennyson is trying to stand up for a boy who is being hurt by bullies.
Leave him alone!
This shows us Ben's desire to help people, but in the end, they both end up hanging from a tree.
Thanks a lot. I was just trying to help. Next time you want to play hero, make sure you can back it up.
Afterward, his grandfather Max and cousin Gwen come to pick him up to take him camping.
Geek. Jerk.
Something tells me it's gonna be a long summer.
At the same time, there is a battle going on in space, and the alien orders a certain Omnitrix to be taken away from the opponents. During the battle, the capsule containing the Omnitrix flies out and falls to the Earth. Ben goes for a walk in the forest and finds the Omnitrix, which is a space watch. When Ben tries to pick it up, the watch clings to his hand intently.
Get off me! Get off!
He accidentally activates it and transforms into an alien swamp fire, similar to Human Torch. He is frightened at first, but then he learns his new abilities and accidentally starts a fire. Max and Gwen notice this and help him put it out. At this time, the alien orders his minions to retrieve the Omnitrix and sends them to Earth. On Earth, Ben manages to transform back into himself.
I'm me again!
Aw, too bad. I liked you better when you were a briquette. Cut ya!
Very funny. Like your face.
Ben then uses his watch again and transforms into Ultimate Wildmet, who has no eyes but a strong sense of smell. At the same moment, he is attacked by a robot from outer space, which our hero quickly defeats. And then he is attacked by another one, which Gwen defeats. They tell grandfather about it, and suddenly hear the news on the radio about the giant robot attack. Ben realizes that it has come for him, and so he runs to save the humans. Once there, he transforms into a diamond alien. Ben gives him the name Diamond Head. He saves the humans from the robot and destroys it. And at the end of the episode, Ben turns into an analog of the Flash and hangs the bullies from the beginning of the episode from a tree. In the second episode, a certain Dr. Animo creates a helmet.
Yes. What's that? You remember the Moose Lodge or something?
Capable of magnifying and controlling animals. He was a scientist who conducted genetic experiments on animals. But when he didn't get an award for his research, he got angry and now flies to the museum to get revenge. First, he brings the mammoth and dinosaur exhibits to life. The characters try to stop him, but they fail. The doctor kidnaps Gwen, and Ben transforms into the alien Stinkfly and flies to save his cousin. After rescuing Gwen, he goes to rescue the scientists. Ben takes the helmet and returns the animals to their normal state. In this episode, Ben learns a lesson a true hero never boasts about his victories enough that he himself knows about them. Being a hero is a reward in itself. In one of the following episodes, Ben has a fight with his grandpa and runs off to play at the arcade. There he meets a boy named Kevin who has the ability to attract objects. Kevin uses his ability to attract tokens from the arcade. After that, he is attacked by bullies. Ben decides to help his new comrade. He transforms into Lightning Bolt and saves Kevin. Kevin shows Ben his dwelling.
You live here?
Yeah, by myself.
Afterwards, Kevin suggests that Ben steal the game discs. Together, they head to the warehouse, but they are discovered.
Can you keep a secret?
Sure.
Ben tells Kevin about the watch. After that, he turns into Stinkfly, and they fly away from the crime scene together. Meanwhile, Gwen and Grandpa go looking for Ben. At the same time, Kevin takes his friend to the subway and offers to switch the rail arrows so that the trains collide and they collect the passengers' money, but Ben is against it and tries to stop his comrade. He wants to become a quad smack, but the clock turns him into Swampfire instead. During the fight, Kevin attracts Ben's energy. Ben manages to stop him anyway. At that moment, the radio broadcasts the subway fires. Gwen and Grandpa hear this and realize where to find Ben. When the family is reunited, Ben tells them about Kevin. They find Kevin, who is trying to kill the bullies. Ben fights him again, but he attracts Ben's energy and gains power again. Ben eventually defeats him and offers Kevin to be good. Kevin pretends to agree and tries to take down the Omnitrix, but Kevin ends up getting thrown off by a shockwave and runs away. At the end of the episode, Ben apologizes to his grandfather, and then we are shown that Kevin still has his swamp fire power. In another episode, Ben defeats the evil Spellbinder, who is attacking a museum of magical artifacts. After defeating him, he gives Gwen the amulet the villain had, but it turns out that it is a magical amulet that gives good luck. Gwen decides to use its power. Later, the villain attacks the museum again and steals the magic book. He also discovers the loss of the amulet. It turns out there are several such amulets, and he needs the whole set for the magic book to work. So he sets out to retrieve the amulet, but the characters overpower him and destroy all the amulets. In the next episode, the characters go to a water park, but Ben is not allowed on the slide due to his short stature. Ben decides to turn into Ripias, but the watch turns him into gray matter.
Oh, no.
He is spotted by a man named Howell and kidnaps him.
Run!
Ben decides to call his family and give his location, and Howell calls some organization and reports the find. They come to pick him up and take him to their headquarters. Max and Gwen, who have just pulled up, notice this and decide to follow them. When the organization bring Howell back to headquarters, they take gray matter away from him to do research on gray matter. But Howell is being tossed outside. He's not happy with that, so he decides to save gray matter. At the same time, Gwen and Grandpa infiltrate the enemy's lair and rescue Ben along with Howell. The evil alien Vilgax decides to go after the Omnitrix. In the morning, Ben tells his grandpa that he dreamed about Vilgax and he promised to come after him. Grandpa hears this and drives the grandchildren towards Rushmore Mountain. Meanwhile, Vilgax attacks one of the nearby towns to get Ben's attention. Our hero goes to rescue people and meets Vilgax. A battle begins between them, but when the watch charge runs out, the grandpa takes his grandson away from the scene of the battle.
You do not want to pick a fight with Vilgax.
How do you know his name is Vilgax?
On the way, however, the villain's robots attack them. Ben transforms into a stinkfly and flies to fight them. As a result of the battle, Vilgax takes the boy back to his ship to remove his watch. Meanwhile, Grandpa takes Gwen to his secret base and tells her that he used to be a space plumber suit, and he once defeated Vilgax before. Meanwhile, the villain tells Ben that he needs the watch to enslave the space. Grandpa and Gwen stock up on the necessary equipment and fly into Vilgax's ship in a van and rescue Ben. In the end, our characters defeat the villain. This is where the first season of the animated series ends. Season 2 begins with their showing us how Max and his partner defeated Vilgax in the past. While he was working as a plumber suit, he tells his grandchildren about it. And then while driving past a town, the characters encounter an alien. Ben goes to catch it, but Grandpa Max's former partner, named Phil, is at the same place. Grandpa introduces him to grandchildren. Afterward, Phil asks him to help catch the Wildmutts. Ben turns into Wildmutt. Phil learns about Omnitrix and suggests Ben become a plumber. Later, it is revealed that Phil has set up an illegal alien capture business. First he releases the aliens, and then he catches them himself, making money doing it. Max finds out about this and tries to stop him. But Phil sets the alien on him. He manages to be saved by Ben. Together they stop Phil by sucking him into a projector, which releases and catches the aliens. In the next episode, Ben tries to turn into Lightning Bolt and gets a new alien. He calls it Cannonbolt. He finds it useless. Suddenly, Big Bug Alien arrives on Earth. It devours planets and destroys them. Along with it come several crazy aliens who worship it. The bug starts slowly destroying the Earth, and none of Ben's aliens can overpower it. But Ben eventually transforms into Cannonbolt and uses it to defeat the monsters. He finally realizes that this alien isn't so useless. Its main ability is its tough shell. It usually curls up into a ball and rolls at a very high speed, thus attacking enemies. In the next episode, Kevin returns and commits crimes. By turning into aliens he absorbed from Ben's Omnitrix. The characters see all this and try to stop him. In addition to them, Kevin is hunted by Lieutenant Steele, who is the head of the Special Alien Fighting Team. After being absorbed by the Omnitrix forces, Kevin cannot regain his human form. And he blames Ben for all of this, so he deliberately sets him up. They clash in a battle on the bridge, in which Ben wins and Kevin regains his human form. However, he is then transformed into a symbiosis of 10 Omnitrix aliens and blames Ben again. With the help of Lieutenant Steele, Ben defeats the new version of Kevin. Somehow, Ben picking at the Omnitrix and accidentally breaks it. And instead of transforming normally, he turns into a hybrid of the two creatures. He's attacked by the returning Dr. Animo. He steals part of the watch and uses it to create different monsters. The characters still manage to stop him and fix the Omnitrix. In the last episode of Season 2, Kevin frees Vilgax to team up against Ben. On Earth, Ben picks at the Omnitrix again and accidentally unlocks the ability to turn into aliens whenever he wants, with the ability to instantly change them. Kevin and Vilgax decide to team up and go to Earth and attack Ben. Unable to overpower him, they attack Grandpa Max and Gwen. Max pulls out the null void projector and sends them into null space. At this point, Ben tries to attack the villains, causing them to drag him down with them. In this dimension, Ben manages to escape from them. Vilgax realizes that Max will have to open the portal to save his grandson. He and Kevin decide to take away the Omnitrix before that happens. Grandpa is about to go after Ben, but Gwen convinces him that she should go. Gwen changes into her costume and takes the necessary gear. When she finds Ben, she is spotted by enemies and taken prisoner. Threatening to harm Ben's cousin, they force him to comply and remove the Omnitrix from him. But before doing so, he reconfigures his watch so they can't figure it out. Kevin attaches Vilgax and tries to fly away with the watch. But Gwen manages to take away the Omnitrix. When the characters fly to the portal, enemies appear in front of them and demand the watch. Gwen throws out an orb, which Vilgax flies after, and Kevin stays behind to get revenge. The characters still manage to return, leaving the enemies in Dimension Zero. Upon returning, Ben is upset about losing the watch, but Gwen pulls out the Omnitrix and says that she tricked Vilgax by throwing out the sphere with the bomb. She gives her cousin the watch, and that's the end of Season 2. Season 3 begins as Tennysons are about to celebrate Grandpa's birthday. Suddenly, Ben and Gwen are whisked into the future. They are dragged there by Gwen from the future, so that little Ben can help his adult self in the future. They meet an aged Max. He is very happy to see his grandchildren small again. Grandpa takes them to the adult Ben's headquarters. There the characters defeat first Dr. Animo and then Vilgax. Next, the characters stop by an Indian village. Ben falls in love with a girl named Kai. In this village, they encounter a werewolf who bites Ben during a fight and hits his Omnitrix. Ben gradually begins to turn into a werewolf. Eventually, he completely transforms into a werewolf. And then, he transforms back into himself, and his Omnitrix is filled with this alien wolf. The characters defeat the werewolf. And it turns out, Kai has been spending time with Ben since she wanted to tame him when he was a wolf. This makes Gwen angry, and she scolds the shameless girl. At the end, we are shown that the werewolf stole the satellite equipment. A shuttle launch at NASA is interrupted by a purple lightning storm, which attracts the attention of the Tennysons, who hope to discover the origin of the alien werewolf. With the help of Grandpa's introductions to the right people, they get there without a problem. At NASA, Ben encounters a werewolf and gets into a fight. Meanwhile, Grandpa and Gwen notice that Max's acquaintance Dr. Victor. He is preparing to launch a rocket. Ben defeats the wolf and he retreats. Max and Gwen find Ben. Together they go in search of the werewolf. They find him with a mummy and Dr. Victor, who turns into Frankenstein. A fight begins and Ben turns into Cannonbolt and Gwen attacks them with magic. The villains leave, so Ben goes after them, and Grandpa with Gwen go to the control room to stop the rocket launch. They fail, so they put on special suits and go to the rocket to disable it from the inside. Ben finds the enemies and notices Frankenstein teleporting a wolf somewhere. Because of this, Tennyson transforms into Lightning Bolt and attacks the villain. During the fight, the enemy manages to launch a rocket into space, which contained Max and Gwen, as well as corrodium crystals. In the next episode, Ben tries to bring Max and Gwen back to Earth. He transforms into plasma and gets into a rocket. He uses it to fly into space to help his relatives. Ben arrives at their rocket. Then he becomes Frankenstrike and attacks the enemies. The satellite prepares to self-destruct. Gwen and Grandpa try to reconfigure the satellite, but they fail. Eventually, they manage to defeat the enemies. But because the satellite exploded, they can't get back home on it. Then Ben turns into Cannonbolt and hides everyone under his shell and lands on Earth, thanks to which all our characters survive. Next, an old friend of Grandpa Max named Xylene arrives on Earth. Xylene and Max used to work with and were in love with. It turns out that she's the one who sent the Omnitrix to Earth. Now she's back to retrieve it, but Ben refuses to give up the watch. So she tells him that the Omnitrix was not meant for him, but for his grandfather. Hearing this, Ben gets upset and runs off into the forest. Afterward, the characters are attacked by Vilgax's robots. Grandpa is taken prisoner. The others team up to save him. During the battle with the robots, Xylene unlocks a new alien for Ben that can devour anything and digest it into a special explosive slime. The characters end up saving Grandpa together. Xylene lets Ben keep the watch and invites Max to go with her. But the man refuses and says he prefers to stay with his grandchildren. This is where the third season ends. Season 4 begins with the Forever Knights trying to confuse Ben into taking the Omnitrix. They hook him up to some kind of device. Through this, Ben sees a dream world. Gwen and Max manage to save him. Next, they go to a wedding, which is very important. The representatives of the human race and the Mudshifter race are getting married, between whom, for a long time, there was a war. Thanks to this wedding, the war can end. During the preparations, very strange things begin to happen. It turns out that behind the incidents are the parents of the bride, who are against this marriage. Right at the altar, the bride's parents attack the guests, and the characters are forced to fight them. Ben in the guise of Swampfire defeats the opponents. The wedding is going to happen after all. Next on the chronology is the full-length cartoon, Secret of the Omnitrix. We are not going to tell you about it now. So, after the movie and 2 episodes, we are shown all about Ben's son, named Kenny. He is given his own Omnitrix for his birthday. Ben gets the signal and goes on a call. And Kenny follows him. They defeat the villains. Kenny gets upset that his father did it all by himself. The son goes for a walk and meets a new friend, named Devlin. They complain to each other about their fathers. Kenny returns home. During the night, their building is attacked by Kevin, who someone has freed. Ben confronts him, and the villain retreats. Later, Devlin and Kenny meet, and then Kenny takes his friend to the compartment, where Kevin is imprisoned. Devlin frees the villain, and it is revealed that Kevin is his father, and the previous attacks were carried out by Devlin. The fight begins, and Devlin tries to stop his father, but he doesn't care about his son, and just throws him off. The fight moves to the outside. Devlin becomes frustrated with his father, and goes over to Kenny's side. The characters defeat Kevin together, and put him in a pod, but Devlin is welcomed into the family. Here comes the very last episode of our series. Vacation ends, and Grandpa takes the grandchildren home, where we see Ben's parents for the first time. Grandpa asks his grandson to keep their adventures a secret and not to tell anyone about the watch. On the first day of school, the school is attacked by Vilgax's robots, and Ben transforms into Diamond Head and destroys them. Then Grandpa comes to the school to help. The 2 bullies start laughing at Ben. They think he escaped during the attack. Anyway, Max takes his grandson home. Ben enters the house and sees that it is destroyed, and Vilgax is inside. Vilgax, threatening Ben's father, demands to give up the watch. But the boy transforms into Cannonbolt and attacks the villain. During the fight, Vilgax is pelted with debris from the house. Afterwards, Ben and his father go to the center of the city, where the robots are wrecking everything. There they run into Max and Gwen. Grandpa hands out weapons for everyone to fight with, and Ben turns into Lightning Bolt. The bullies see all this and realize that Ben was these superheroes who saved people over the summer. The team destroys the robots, and then Vilgax appears. Ben and his father defeat him by blowing him up. At the end of the episode, Ben arrives at school where he sees Gwen, who will now be attending school with him. At the same moment, the town is attacked by Animo. Ben transforms into a superhero before everyone's eyes. This is the end of the Season 4 and the entire animated series Ben 10. See you in the next videos.